What if the most powerful man on earth was also the most terrified? Meet Qin Shi Huang, the first emperor of China, a man who conquered kingdoms, enslaved millions, and built a wall so vast you can see it from space. He had absolute power, unimaginable wealth, and a single, all-consuming fear: death. This isn't just a story about a man who wanted to live forever. This is a story of how that quest for immortality drove him into a paranoid madness so extreme, he willingly drank liquid poison every single day. You're about to discover the shocking truth behind the man who created China. A ruler so terrified of assassins, he slept in a different room every night, and so desperate for eternal life that he became his own executioner. This is the story of the emperor's deadly cure, a secret so dark it was buried for 2 millennia beneath an army of silent clay soldiers. To understand his madness, you have to understand his fear. Qin Shi Huang forged China from 7 warring states through brutal, bloody conquest. He was a visionary, a genius, and a master of terror. He buried scholars alive for disagreeing with him and burned entire libraries to erase the past and make history begin with him. But the man who wasn't afraid to kill anyone lived in mortal terror of being killed himself. He survived at least 3 spectacular assassination attempts. One assassin concealed a dagger inside a map. Another hid a lead-weighted loot to smash his skull. A third ambushed his carriage with a 160-pound hammer. These weren't just attacks. They were fuel for his spiraling paranoia. He became a ghost in his own palace. He ordered a network of secret, walled-over passages to be built connecting all of his 270 palaces, so no one could ever track his movements. He slept in a different palace, a different room, every single night. And here's where the paranoia gets truly insane. If anyone revealed which room he was sleeping in, the punishment was immediate death. Dozens of eunuchs and guards were executed simply because the emperor suspected they knew his location. He was a prisoner of his own empire, haunted by the ghosts of the millions he had killed to build it. As his fear of assassins grew, his obsession with immortality festered into a national crisis. He couldn't trust men, so he turned to magic. He summoned every alchemist, sorcerer, and charlatan in the empire to his court, demanding one thing: the elixir of life. His alchemists, terrified of failing a man who buried his critics alive, made a fatal promise. They told him they'd found the key to eternal life in a miraculous substance they call huayin, living silver, a beautiful, shimmering liquid metal that seemed to have a life of its own. We know it today as mercury. They presented these tiny, gleaming silver pills to the emperor, claiming they would purify his body, destroy his mortal weaknesses, and grant him the eternal life he craved. And the emperor, the most powerful man in the known world, believed them. He began consuming mercury every single day. He didn't just eat it. He drank it in his wine, convinced that with every toxic sip, he was becoming a god. He was literally drinking poison to live forever. But a part of him knew the elixirs might fail. His paranoia demanded a backup plan. If he couldn't conquer death in this world, he would conquer it in the next. So he began the most insane construction project in human history: his own tomb. This wasn't just a grave. It was an entire underground empire, a replica of China itself, designed for him to rule for eternity. And to protect him in the afterlife, he ordered the creation of a new army. An army that wouldn't age, wouldn't betray him, and would never die: the Terracotta Army. For nearly 40 years, over 700,000 enslaved workers toiled to create this silent legion. More than 8,000 life-size soldiers, each one with a unique face, modeled after real warriors in his army. There were archers, generals, cavalrymen with their horses, and charioteers. They were armed with real, lethally sharp bronze weapons, coated in a chromium preservative so advanced that scientists are still baffled by it today. But here's a detail that will haunt your dreams. To ensure the secrets of his tomb were kept forever, the emperor devised a final, horrifying act after the tomb was sealed. Historical records say the workers who built it and the artisans who crafted its treasures, hundreds of thousands of them, were trapped and buried alive inside a final, silent sacrifice to his paranoia. The irony is tragic and absolute. The mercury didn't make him a god. It drove him insane and killed him. Mercury poisoning attacks the nervous system, The emperor's legendary temper, his violent mood swings, his spiraling paranoia. These weren't just character flaws. They were the symptoms of his cure, eating his brain from the inside out. In 210 BC, at the age of 49, Qin Shi Huang died. He wasn't assassinated. He wasn't killed in battle. His own body collapsed, ravaged by organ failure and neurological damage caused by the very elixir he believed would make him immortal. And here's the final, grotesque twist. He died on a tour of eastern China, hundreds of miles from his capital. His chief advisor, Li Si, was so terrified that news of the emperor's death would trigger a massive uprising that he decided to hide it. For the next 2 months, he pretended the emperor was still alive. Imagine the scene. The royal procession kept moving, with the emperor's body slowly decomposing inside his ornate carriage during the heat of summer. To cover the horrific stench of the rotting corpse, Li Si ordered carts filled with salted, rotting fish to travel alongside the emperor's carriage, telling everyone the smell was just a fish. The man who conquered a continent was smuggled back to his own capital disguised as a shipment of bad seafood. He built an eternal army to protect him in the next life. But in the end, his greatest enemy was never an assassin. It was the poison he drank, the paranoia that consumed him, and the horrifying absolute certainty that he and he alone could cheat death. If this tragic descent into madness fascinated you, hit that subscribe button.